Do you ever wonder how healthy your relationship actually is? As a couples therapist, I see 5 different levels of relationship health. And in this video, I'm going to use one simple example to show you what each level looks like in real life. And by the end, not only will you know where you are, you'll also know exactly what it takes to level up. So here's our couple. Blue is irritated because Yellow keeps checking her phone when they're talking. I'm Lara. I'm a therapist and a couples counselor, and I use drawings to make these patterns easier to see. Let's jump in, starting with the first level. Blue is talking to Yellow, and she glances down at her phone for a moment. It irritates him, but he decides not to say anything. And the conversation keeps going. But now Blue is a little annoyed, a little less open, and definitely less engaged. He noticed that she's checking out, so internally he checks out also. Yellow can feel that distance, but she doesn't really get what just happened. No one says anything. No one checks their assumptions or asks a question. And this is the first level, silence. At this level, the irritation never actually becomes a conversation. It all gets pushed down, and it seems fine because no one's fighting, but the issues stay hidden. And here's something that might surprise you. Conflict isn't a problem in a relationship. In fact, conflict is actually the way that relationships correct themselves. So when you never bring anything up, the relationship gets off course, which means the next level, even though it looks messier from the outside, is actually a step in the right direction. And here's what it sounds like. Yellow glances down at her phone, and this time Blue decides to say something. Wow, that phone must be really interesting. Yellow gets defensive. What? I was just checking something for a second. Well, you always seem to need to check something when I'm talking to you. No, I don't. What is your problem anyway? My problem? I think you're the one with a problem. At this level, the irritation does become a conversation, but it comes out a little harsh. Sarcasm, defensiveness, criticism, arguing, tone, all of these take center stage. Instead of solving the problem, the way they're talking becomes the problem. And this is the second level, fighting. Is this a surprise to you that reactive conflict is actually a level up from silence? In level one, you don't even know you have an issue. In this level, the issue is at least out in the open, it's just being handled badly. You might be in level two if issues do get brought up in your relationship, but the conversation quickly turns into arguing, defensiveness, or criticism, with everyone feeling worse by the end. A quick aside, I've created a free illustrated guide that describes all 5 levels and gives some tips to help move couples from one level to the next. There's a link in the description below. So, if level two is where a lot of couples get stuck, arguing, defending, going in circles, what does it actually look like when something starts to shift? Because level three isn't the moment everything suddenly smooths out, it is messier than that. So, let's go back to our couple right in the middle of their argument. What? I was just checking something for a second. Well, you always seem to need to check something when I'm talking to you. No, I don't. What is your problem anyway? But this time, Blue pauses for a moment. Okay, you know what? I think I need a break before we keep talking about this. Yellow is irritated. She didn't ask for a break, and she's not totally sure what just happened, but she waits. 30 minutes later, Blue comes back. Okay, I'm ready. I don't think you should check your phone while we're talking. I mean, it was just for a second. I know, but it bothers me. Fine, I will put it down. Is that a perfect conversation? No. Yellow is still a little defensive. Blue hasn't quite figured out how to say what he wants, but they got through it without it turning into a full blown argument. And that is significant. At this level, at least one partner is beginning to recognize when a conversation is going off the rails. They might still get reactive, but they are starting to know to slow things down so that they can reset the interaction. It's not smooth, but it's better. And this is the third level, learning. You might be in level three if, when a conversation goes off the rails, one of you pauses, takes a break, or tries to say something in a different way. It might feel messy, but you are learning new skills. In level four, something different happens. The conversation starts differently. So watch what Blue does early on before things even have a chance to go sideways. Back to that moment when Yellow glances down at her phone. And this time, Blue says, "Hey, can I tell you something that bothers me? When you check your phone when I'm talking, I feel a little dismissed." Yellow looks up. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I was doing that. I'll put my phone down." So at this level, the issue gets brought up clearly and directly. Instead of sarcasm or accusations like in levels 2 and 3, Blue speaks about his own experience of feeling dismissed and invites her response. The goal here isn't to win the argument, it's to solve the problem together. And this is the fourth level, solving. You might be in this level if, when something bothers you, it gets brought up fairly quickly and directly using I statements. You might still disagree, but the conversation stays respectful, and that actually helps you work towards a solution. So that was a pretty clean conversation, right? Respectful, direct, the problem actually gets resolved. Lots of couples will be thrilled to reach this level, and honestly, they should be. But there is one more, and that level might change how you see conflict altogether. It starts the same. When Yellow glances down at her phone, Blue says, "Hey, can I tell you something that bothers me? When you check your phone when I'm talking, I feel a little dismissed." "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I was doing that." But I'm also curious, what is it about this that makes you feel dismissed? Honestly, if I think about it, the feeling I get is kind of like the one I had as a kid when my parents would brush me off when I asked about schoolwork. I just remember feeling like I didn't really matter to them. Wow, that makes so much sense. I don't want you to feel like you don't matter to me. Yeah, well, now that we're talking about it, I don't even think the phone thing is really about you. It's more about that old feeling getting triggered. Well, I am still so glad that you shared that with me. So, at this level, conflict isn't just something couples handle well, it becomes something they can use to understand each other more deeply. Instead of feeling threatened by the issue, both people stay curious about what their differences actually mean. And this is the fifth level, connection. You might be in this level if, when something bothers one of you, it becomes a topic that you can explore and expand on together. Over time, conflict doesn't just solve problems, it actually deepens the relationship. So now that you know your relationship level, you might have noticed that the shift from level 2 to 3 usually starts with one simple skill, a timeout. In this next video, I will show you how to use team timeouts so that arguments don't spiral and you can actually reset the conversation. You can watch that right here, and I'll see you next time.